A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to the news live on Channel I. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome indeed. I'm in Rajai Surya. We start off with a look at the headlines for tonight.
The government is ready to bear the responsibility of addressing the issues of persons affected from the Salava army camp incident. The President and the Premier instruct not to approve the purchase of vehicles of ministers till relief is granted to each and every family affected from natural disaster. The Army Commander assures that the property damage from the Salava army camp blast will be renovated as soon as possible. More than 15,000 persons visited the President's house today. Former Maldivian Vice President guilty over blast plot.
We now move on to those and other stories in detail. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says certain groups are attempting to create a conflict between the army and the people by spreading rumours regarding the explosion which occurred at Salava army camp. He urges them not to engage in such activities. Responding to a question raised by the Chief Opposition Whip parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayake at the Parliament today, the Premier emphasised both the government and the army has already shouldered the responsibility of addressing the issues of the families who were affected from the incident. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said the damages caused to the property were assessed throughout yesterday. The engineering brigade of the army have already renovated 11 houses that were damaged from the explosion. Furthermore, the Premier disclosed the army has informed slightly damaged houses will be renovated within the next 72 hours, while the partially damaged houses are to be renovated within the next 2 weeks. In addition, totally damaged houses will be renovated within the next 60 days. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe also stated he has instructed the army to expedite the process. Furthermore, the Minister of Finance has been directed to provide financial allocations required for renovation and relief efforts without any delay. The polluted water resources will be cleaned within today. In addition, the Ministry of Finance has also agreed to provide a monthly allowance of 50,000 rupees for the affected families.
Meanwhile, the report of the committee appointed to look into the problematic situation which arose at the voting held regarding the supplementary estimate was presented to the Parliament by Speaker Karujai Surya today. He also informed that the no-confidence motion presented against the General Secretary of the Parliament cannot be taken up for debate. Speaker Karujai Surya said the voting on the relevant day had been scheduled for 6:30 p.m. However, it was decided to hold the voting 5:45 p.m. later. The ministers and MPs arrived in the chamber on 3 occasions as a result of it, and therefore confusion arose when calculating the votes. The committee has stated it may have resulted a human error. However, this does not create any question about the mark of the impartiality or the independence of the MP who chaired the House on the occasion or the Secretary General of the Parliament. The committee has recommended that issues surfaced in the Parliament should be solved at the party leaders' meeting. If it is a serious matter, it should be discussed at the chamber. Furthermore, the committee has emphasized that the voting regarding a matter should be held within the scheduled time. If the relevant debate ends before the scheduled time, the session should be postponed until the relevant period. The recommendations also say that training should be given to the panel of MPs who chair the House instead of the Speaker. Furthermore, the parliamentary officials should comment on holding parliamentary sessions with any party under the approval of the Speaker. Furthermore, the committee has emphasized that the laws and standing orders relating to the discipline of the MPs should be amended if the prevailing ones are not effective.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed the officials of the Treasury not to approve any payment to import vehicles for the ministers and MPs until the process to provide relief to the persons affected from natural disasters is completed. Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka elaborated on the matter today. Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka said certain media institutions gave immense publicity that the government is preparing to purchase vehicles for ministers and MPs. Although several ministers are able to use their current vehicle continuously, vehicles that certain ministers travel are not in good condition. However, the President and the Prime Minister has decided not to purchase any vehicle for ministers and MPs considering the present situation of the country.
Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Krishantha De Silva, assures that the property damaged from the explosion at the Salava Army camp will be renovated as soon as possible. The commander, who visited the area today, inquired into the requirements of the people. Lieutenant General Krishantha De Silva also held discussions with the officials who are engaged in renovation activities. He also looked into the needs of the people who have lost their houses and property from the incident. Addressing a media briefing held at Salava area, the Army commander emphasized the troops are engaged in renovation activities, giving priority to the safety of the general public. Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Krishantha De Silva, said that many properties were damaged from the incident and one person died while several others were also injured. However, a large number of lives were saved due to the commitment of the Army, and the Lieutenant General has also said his troops are ready to extend their maximum support for the renovation activities.
UK Minister of State at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, Hugo Swire, was held talks with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein, and Sri Lanka's ambassador to Geneva, Ravinatha Arya Singha. The talks focused on the progress in implementing the resolution on Sri Lanka adopted by the UN Human Rights Council last year. In a Twitter message, UK Minister of State Hugo Swire said the discussions with the Human Rights Chief of UN and the Sri Lankan ambassador to Geneva were positive. The meeting comes as the UN Human Rights Council prepares to meet next week, where a report on Sri Lanka will be submitted by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights.
And in other local stories, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa has been summoned to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into serious acts of fraud today. He was summoned to record a statement for the investigation carried out on allegedly misusing state property and funds by him. The weekend Rave newspaper had also revealed certain information in this regard. The paper article on the newspaper had disclosed that 6 members of the Navy had been deployed to look after 2 dogs belonging to the former minister. In addition, another group of naval personnel had been assigned for the affairs of the family members, and it included 64 naval personnel, 12 transport assistants, 11 chefs and a group of support staff. Former Minister Basil Rajapaksa had been summoned to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into the serious acts of fraud today to record statements regarding several allegations levelled against him. The former minister is accused of paying 265 million rupees as wages and allowances to a group of 150 naval personnel who had served as his personal staff. In addition, statements were also recorded regarding the alleged misuse of 155 million rupees spent for domestic air travel. Another accusation levelled against the former minister is obtaining fuel worth more than 20 million rupees for 14 vehicles used by him.
Today is the third day where the doors of the President's house in Fort remained open for the general public. More than 15,000 persons, including school children, visited the President's house today as well. It was open for public viewing on the 8th of this month, according to a concept of President Maithripala Sirisena. Nearly 40,000 persons from various parts of the country had visited the President's house up to now. Those who came to the President's house thanked President Maithripala Sirisena for the opportunity given to them to witness this historic heritage of the country. The President's house in Colombo has been the official residence of the leader of the country for more than 200 years. This has been the residence of a Dutch governor, 30 British governors, 2 Sri Lankan governors and 7 presidents of Sri Lanka. The photos of historic importance as well as the photos of the governors and the presidents of Sri Lanka are exhibited in the house. The President's house will be open for the public from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. till the 14th of this month. More details can be obtained by calling the numbers 077 308 6366 or 071 424 1802.
Now for news from the region, Asia in a minute.
A Hindu monastery worker has been hacked to death in Bangladesh. AFP news agency said, citing police, that Nityaranjan Pandey, who was in his 60s, died on the spot after several people attacked him today. Senior officials from China and the ASEAN nations at the 12th Senior Officials Meeting in Vietnam vowed yesterday to fully and effectively implement the declaration on the conduct of parties in the South China Sea. India has rejected Google's plans to collect images for its Street View service in the country after objections from security agencies. Two speedboats heading from Phuket in Thailand to Phi Phi Islands in stormy weather collided, killing 2 Chinese tourists and injuring dozens of others. The cause of the accident is negligence of the 2 boat drivers. Thousands of people lined the streets in Tokyo in Japan today to watch the highlight of the Sano Festival, an ancient Japanese festival, as participants in elaborate colorful kimono costumes paraded through the streets.
Sri Lanka has become more peaceful under the President Maithripala Sirisena's administration and has been ranked higher in this year's Global Peace Index. Sri Lanka was up by 18 places in the index, which has ranked 133 nations according to their level of peacefulness. The 2016 Global Peace Index report was released on Wednesday. It is developed by the Institute for Economics and Peace under the guidance of an international panel of independent experts, with data collected and calculated by the Economist Intelligence Unit. Iceland was once again named as the world's most peaceful country. According to the 2016 report, the world, however, has become slightly less peaceful this year. Sri Lanka was ranked 97th in the index. Improvements in political stability, likelihood of violent demonstrations, and number and duration of internal conflicts have contributed to the enhancement in the domestic situation. Bhutan topped the South Asian region, while Sri Lanka was placed in the 4th place.
In other local stories, Colombo University organized an expert session on the 2016 theme for World Environment Day. Illegal trade in wildlife, which focuses on zero tolerance for illegal wildlife trade. This was organized to raise awareness in the increasing illegal wildlife trade. The event was held in Senate Hall Auditorium at the Colombo University yesterday, and environmental professionals and many attended the function. Dr. Sumit Pilapitia, Director General of the Department of Wildlife Conservation, delivered the keynote address, followed by a panel discussion. Sri Lanka is located in one of the busiest shipping routes in the Indian Ocean. A growing illegal wildlife trade between Africa and the East Asian region takes place on this shipping route, which passes through the Colombo port. This is proven through detection and seizure in 2012 by Sri Lankan Customs of a blood ivory container with 359 pieces on board, weighing 1.5 tons, en route to Dubai from Kenya. Another seizure of a massive consignment of 28 container loads of Madagascar Dalbergia timber, which is worth $7 million.
Large number of devotees throughout the island are coming to Sudharmananda temple at Bukkiriyagolla in Munaragala to pay their homage to the sacred relics. The public has been given the opportunity to pay their homage to the relics until the midnight of tomorrow. The sacred relics were brought to Sudharmananda temple at Bukkiriyagolla from the Hathagala temple in Hungama this morning. It took place under the guidance of chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Badulugammana Ratnasara Thera. The exposition of sacred relics will take place at the Kailagoda Sri Sadharmananda Pirivena in Badulla tomorrow and the day after.
The second phase of the program to distribute footwear from the Senhe Siyapatha Fund amongst the school children who were affected from the recent natural disaster commenced today. The ceremony in this regard was held at the Anuradha Balika Vidyalaya in Dematagoda under the auspices of Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka. Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is the official media sponsor of this initiative. The Senhe Siyapatha Fund was established with the objective of uplifting the living status of the people who were affected from the floods. The Ministry of Parliamentary Reforms and Mass Media, the Disaster Management Centre, Dialogue Asiata, Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation and the Associated Newspapers Limited are the pioneers of this initiative. 325 students were symbolically provided with footwear at the occasion. The total number of students who will be benefiting will be 8,000. The government has allocated 8 million rupees for this purpose as well. Minister Gandhi Karunatilake, who addressed the gathering, stated he is pleased to provide footwear to the students of the school from the money of this fund. As a responsible government, it is ready to take necessary action to prevent the recurrence of such incidents. The minister also emphasized the need of public having a proper understanding regarding these issues.
Welcome back, and we move on to news overseas. The former vice president of the Maldives has been convicted over a plot to assassinate the current president. President Abdullah Yameen narrowly escaped injury when a blast struck the boat he was using to return home from the airport last September. His then deputy Ahmed Adib was arrested weeks later and charged with high treason. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison yesterday, days after receiving a 10-year sentence for owning firearms. Adib denied playing any part in the blast, which the prosecution maintained was caused by a bomb. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, one of a number of agencies asked by the government to help with the investigation, said no bomb exploded. In recent years, the Maldives has been rocked by political infighting. Two of Adib's bodyguards were given 10-year sentences for their role. Soon after the blast, speculation began to grow that Adib was involved. Under the Maldivian constitution, the vice president succeeds the president if he dies, is incapacitated or resigns. Officials described the attack as an assassination attempt. Yameen's predecessor, Mohammed Nasheed, who was ousted in a coup in 2012, was given refugee status in the UK last month.
Tens of thousands of people are set to say a final farewell to boxing legend Muhammad Ali in his home city of Louisville in Kentucky. The heavyweight champion and rights activist died last Friday, aged 74. A procession was to take Ali's body past key sites in his life ahead of an interfaith memorial service, and the actor Will Smith and ex-boxer Lennox Lewis were amongst those pallbearers, whilst former President Bill Clinton is to deliver one of the eulogies. The motorcade procession was due to begin at about 13:30 GMT and take the coffin past his childhood home, the Ali Center, the Center for African American Heritage, and then down Muhammad Ali Boulevard. The procession, expected to take about 90 minutes, will end at the Cave Hill Cemetery, where Ali will be laid to rest in a private cemetery.
And we move on to sports news. The softball cricket team of the Rivera newspaper emerged champions of the Info Cricket Championship organised by the Government Information Department. Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation ended as runners-up. The match was played at Shalika Grounds in Narahempita. The Rivera team, who batted first, scored 104 runs. Although the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation team played competitively, they ended as runners-up. Meanwhile, the women's cricket team of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation emerged victorious over the VFM cricket team at the women's finals. Minister of Sports Dayasri Jayasekara was the chief guest of the ceremony held to hand over awards and certificates. Minister of Parliamentary Reforms and Mass Media Gayantha Karunatilake, as well as a group of officials from the ministry, were also present on this occasion.
Before we go, it's a look at the weather. As the Met Department says that showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, northwestern, southern, central and sub-Ragamo provinces. A few showers may occur in the north-central province too. Showers or thunder showers are likely to occur at a few places in the eastern province after 2 p.m. and strong winds at times can be expected over the country, particularly over the western slopes of the Central Hills and northern, north-central and eastern provinces. Well, that's it from Rupavahini News tonight. More stories tomorrow at the same time. Enjoy the cricket.
Good night.